Welcome back to Accountability is Trending. I'm Chris Hopkin, and with me is Tina Johnson. Hello, Tina. How you doing there?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, kind of tired. Just got back from Phoenix, visiting with my brother and my sister, and we had it was a whirlwind trip. Went down on Friday and just got back, and we're doing this podcast. So we have. A podcast today, and we are calling it Davos to Evanston, I hear.
Yeah. Yep, it's time to talk about that for sure.
Yeah. So how you been doing? Anyhow, you are been a busy girl. I got a yard sign from you. I got something to share with you. Well, you already know this because you come and replaced my yard sign, didn't you? Somebody pilfered one.
I
That's
know.
terrible. People, I don't understand them, but yeah, they uh, was it Chuck Gray, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's terrible. Anyhow, I'll let you take over here, Tina. So let her rip.
All right. So tonight we're going to talk about the Prometheus Hyperscale meeting that we had. I believe it was last week. We've both been pretty busy and had a lot going on, so we haven't been able to cover it. Um, but the meeting was full. It is also on the website. Jared recorded it, and it is on the um, Accountability is Trending website, so anybody can watch it. Um, and then the room was full. It was packed. I don't know how many people were there. I'm going to say 75 maybe, but there's quite a lot of people. The room was full, lots of questions, good questions. County commissioners, city councilwoman Jen Hegeman was there. They all spoke for their constituents. They did bring up some good points. Um, but the emphasis was on water and that kind of stuff. People were concerned about water, power. Um, a lot of people have heard that the gas prices will go up. Um, and there's a lot of things, and they kind of defended a lot of that. But what I wanted to focus on tonight is the Davos and the Great Reset, sort of the angle of the Davos, which is the World Economic Forum.
And
So, um,
and that the Davos meaning you're talking about the Great Reset, is that correct?
the Great Reset. So, the World Economic Forum in 2020, the World Economic Forum has been around since 1971. And they've always been talking about the Great Reset. That's most of my lifetime. I was born in 1970, so they've been talking about it for a long time. But in 2020, during the summer of peaceful protests, they had a meeting in Davos about this is a good time for the Great Reset. So they had meetings and they talked about it, how they were going to implement it going forward from June of 2020.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Some dismiss it and some just don't even worry about it. Some don't even know about it. And they say Davos, what?
When they used it because they called it the a conspiracy theory, but the
Yeah,
conspiracy was it was a word that they brought up during the Kennedy assassination to get people to quit talking about and asking questions. And they use it anytime they want people to not talk about something.
yeah.
So I will say that at the meeting that we were at, the John Birch Society, they have a magazine, The New American, and it is going to cover the conspiracy in detail. And
Yeah,
I believe that issue came out in May. So
yeah,
it is definitely worth looking into and getting it if you want more information on it,
yeah.
for sure.
That is some really good information. The John Birch Society. Uh, the email, you can email us and we can get you that information about John Birch Society. They are wonderful to get you information on this kind of stuff. Really informative, in detail, in depth.
Yep.
Um,
And they have all the facts and evidence and data to back it up. It's not like they have the receipts.
Yeah. And they've been around since, well, John Birch was the one that helped the fighters get out, the fighter pilots, not the fighter pilots, the bomber pilots, get out of China when they first bombed uh, Japan after they bombed Pearl Harbor. And John Birch was instrumental in getting those pilots saved from the communists that were infiltrating and trying to kill them. And that was actually suppressed, which was terrible. John Birch has actually been victimized, over the years because of his good work. So, be that aside, I'll let you keep going. Sorry.
No, that's good information. I didn't know that.
Oh
But
yeah,
I think that they're very constitutional. Their standards, their morals, what they stand for is
yeah.
important. And I think,
Well, there was a big campaign, and there's still campaigns going against John Birch to put the whole society down because they were putting out the truth, and they always have since they've
yeah.
been going. So um, anyhow, I'll let you keep going here.
Okay. So the event in June of 2020 brought together world leaders, corporate executives, bankers, bank leaders, advocates, um, and they talked about the post-COVID economy and what it should look like, how they wanted to rebuild. They tear things down to a place where they can manage it, and then they rebuild from there. And I don't know if you remember, but Biden had his Build Back Better speech. Um,
Don't remind.
and
I know you
that
know,
was
but don't remind me.
but that was like a signal that
Yes,
that's what we were going to do. We were going to build back better. So
right.
so we're going to watch a little clip. This is the opening comments from Klaus Schwab. So
Thank you, Adrian. It is obvious that we are in the midst of the most severe crisis the world has experienced since World War II. 75 years ago, countries and people came together to shape the post-war global order, which brought us decades of peace, increased global cooperation, and prosperity to hundreds of millions of people around the world. The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system for the need for the post-corona era. We have a choice to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today: polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increased social unrest and conflicts. But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract, particularly integrating the next generation. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again. And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. In short, we need a great reset. We have to mobilize all constituents of our global society to work together. We must not miss this unique window of opportunity. For this reason, I'm grateful that we are joined for this announcement of the Great Reset Initiative, not only by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, but by representatives of international organizations, business, trade unions, scientists, and above all, the young generation.
So, Tina, this was some hidden meeting, or not?
no, it wasn't a hidden meeting, and you can actually watch the entire thing. We'll have the video in the clip in the notes in
Okay.
the, in the, um, so
So,
everything that we're discussing tonight is public. The videos are public, the speakers are public. There isn't a question of whether it happened. It happened.
right.
And
And we just watched a video of this guy. Yeah,
that we assume is over there. He's in Switzerland. He can't affect us.
yeah.
But
And most people just didn't even realize that this was even going on. It just kind of flew underneath the radar.
exactly.
So,
Exactly. So then one of the other things, so they talk about King Charles, and we had this war back in 1776-ish, um, where we defeated the king, and we became a sovereign nation. But did we really? Because King Charles is the one who's kind of implementing part of the Great Reset. He is very instrumental in the pushing forward with the Great Reset.
right.
So in the video, he talks about the government, the corporations moving it into the private sector, so that it doesn't have as much scrutiny. And we've seen that there's a lot of secrecy. Nobody in Uintah County knew there was going to be data centers, so we know that it flew very under the radar.
And
So with huh?
go ahead there. I was just thinking about the public and private partnership. Can you expound on that a little bit? I think that needs to be more discussed. You know what I mean?
The public-private partnerships.
Yeah.
So similar to what we're doing with the workforce hub.
Okay.
So the public, it's going on the county land. So the public is the taxpayer dollars are paying for the infrastructure, that kind of stuff. And a lot of it's already there. I'm not sure what all is there, but and so then the partner or the private company comes in, leases the land, that type of thing. So it becomes a public-private partnership. We work together on I'm sure there's a better explanation for it, but that's what I've got for right now. So we're going to go ahead and play the clip of King Charles, and he's going to talk about the Great Reset from the way he sees it.
All right. So we're going to cue up this clip number 2.
Caroline, thank you very much indeed for your kind words. I think I have a feeling it's about 38 years now, probably, or something like that I've been trying. But these are unprecedented times. Every person on the planet has been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. Our world came to a standstill, and it became clear that we did not have the answer or the mechanisms to address such an unprecedented global threat. The threats posed by this dreadful pandemic came upon us suddenly with very little warning. The threat of climate change has been more gradual, but its devastating reality for many people and their livelihoods around the world, and its ever greater potential to disrupt, surpasses even that of COVID-19. In addition to COVID-19, over the last few decades, we have seen bird flu, swine flu, Ebola, MERS, SARS, which are all zoonotic diseases originating in animals. More than half of all pathogens affecting humans come from animals. Changing the relationship between wild, domestic, and human animals makes pandemics more likely, which is why we need to restore balance with the natural world through decisive action on climate change and restoring biodiversity. If we look at the planet as if it were a patient, we can see that our activities have been damaging her immune system, and she has been struggling to function and thrive due to the strain we have put on her vital organs. To treat her, we need to restore balance and put nature back at the center of the circle. And to achieve this, we must act for health and well-being, understand nature's patterns and cycles, recognize the value of diversity, unity, and the interdependence of all living things, consider the importance of innovation and adaptation, and invest in nature-based solutions to help stimulate a more circular bioeconomy that gives back to nature as much as we take from her. Now, I can only hope that as this current crisis passes, we are able to reflect on and shape the type of world we want for ourselves and for future generations. The 75 years after the Second World War saw unprecedented growth, rising longevity, and poverty reductions. But all this put an overwhelming strain on our environment. The good news is that we have many of the solutions to hand. Renewable energy is now cheaper than fossil fuels. Our agriculture and land use can be more resilient, healthy, and productive if we do not degrade our land, destroy our forests, and poison our water. Unfortunately, we so often forget that we are profoundly dependent on nature for our lives and livelihoods. So, how do we balance the need to rebuild economic prosperity, the need to get people back to work against environmental concerns? Investing sustainably now can be a fast, efficient, and attractive way to reboot our economy. Therefore, what should be the principles that underlie the reshaping of a new and better global economic system? To seize this window of opportunity, I believe we need to do 5 things. First of all, to create momentum for the Great Reset, we need to capture the imagination and will of humanity. We will only change if we really want to change. Secondly, the global economic recovery must set us on a new trajectory of sustainable employment, of livelihoods and economic growth. To achieve scale, we must not be afraid to reorientate our long-standing incentive structures, which have been having such perverse effects on our planetary environment and on nature herself, if we are to reap the benefits afforded by a more sustainable world. Thirdly, we must redesign systems and pathways to advance net zero transitions globally. And in this regard, carbon pricing can form a critical pathway to genuinely sustainable markets. This reset moment is our opportunity to accelerate and align our efforts to create truly global momentum. Countries, industries, and businesses moving together can create efficiencies and economies of scale that will allow us to leapfrog our collective progress and accelerate our transition. Fourthly, we must reinvigorate science, technology, and innovation. This crisis has shown the importance of investing in science, technology, and innovation. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. And fifthly, we must rebalance investment. Accelerating sustainable investment could offer significant economic growth and employment opportunities, including in green energy, the regeneration of nature and landscapes, the circular bioeconomy, ecotourism, and green public infrastructure. It is time, therefore, to align sustainable solutions with funding in a way that can transform the marketplace. This would be the most dramatic act of responsible leadership ever seen by the global private sector, and would at once provide a catalytic incentive for the public sector to follow. We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change, and global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet. Over the past month or so, despite the ongoing crisis, I've been encouraged to see the growing calls for a green recovery. We need only look to the United Nations Secretary General, to the IMF, the EU, the Petersburg Climate Dialogue, the Canadian government, the COP26 Universities Network, and business leaders around the world to see this. And as we move from rescue to recovery, therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play. Everything I have tried to do and urge over the past 50 years has been done with our children and grandchildren in mind. So I can only encourage us all to think big and act now.
All right, Tina. So why is it that important to this conversation? I'm just curious here.
So, because the people, they hear Prometheus, we talk about the Trenton Thornock. He's a local kid, grew up in the area. So we feel a connection to Trenton Thornock as just one of the guys. He's just one of the neighbors, right? But then we're talking about the workforce hubs, economic development partnerships, the private power generation, carbon capture, statewide workforce campaigns, and then they start wondering, where do these ideas come from? Trenton Thornock, and while he was raised here, we know that he went somewhere else for a long time. He's done jobs in other states, other countries. He's had some projects over by China. So he's getting the ideas from somewhere.
Well, I have something interesting to share with you. On my plane flight, when I was in Salt Lake, we had a layover for 3 hours, okay? And this guy comes up to me and he sits down, and in the conversation, he tells me that he maps oil fields, right? This is very interesting. The way that he maps them is all these giant oil fields, they leach gas out, right? And so they fly around and they find these places where the pressure leaches out from these gas fields, and it interacts with the atmosphere. They are able to take this data and pinpoint how large these fields are, map them accurately. They haven't been able to use this data until AI is able to crunch the numbers. So now they've punched over 270 wells and never missed once. And I'm thinking to myself, that's crazy, because the best rates they've had is 50% up until now. And I'm thinking to myself, holy cow. And he says what he's hoping to do in the next few years is map the whole United States to see actually how much oil we actually have. He was pointing out, we were sitting there waiting, he was pointing out the window and he says, right out there, he says, there's an oil field that's down about, what I think he said 14, I forget how deep it was. He said, there's oil out there that hasn't even been drilled, that it will run a data plant for 60 to 80 years. And I'm going like, whoa. And he was talking about one of those major data plants, and I thought that was incredible that they have this technology now. And he was saying that with this new AI technology, that the way that the data had been crunched in the past, it was like a year to 2 years that they were getting this information so they could drill a well. And the next 6 to 8 months, they're saying that this data will be live, that they'll be able to fly around and map these oil fields live. So they could be able to map the whole United States within a year or two.
And put data centers over every gas well?
Yeah, that's like incredible.
That's terrifying.
Well, yeah, but that was, to me, that was something, because I'm wearing this hat, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, and this hat was the only hat in the whole Salt Lake Airport and the whole Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. This hat was the only hat in the whole airport. Lots of compliments and lots of sneers. But anyhow, I wanted to share that with you and everybody about this new technology that's out there. It's just incredible that what we're going through with AI is unbelievable. So anyhow, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. That's a great story. And
Yeah,
and it's because we are going to be using AI. That is a fact and that is true. But what we need is the transparency.
exactly.
I don't dispute the data centers. I don't, but when organizations such as this come into our community, it's changing the entire culture. We're
Exactly.
no longer a farm town. We're no longer a and what is the product that we're selling? Brent Bean is done a great job of telling people our GDP is down. We're not shipping anything out, but the product is us. Our
Well,
data, in the casinos, it's our money that they want. And with the data centers, it's our information, it's our data that is feeding the economy.
yes, I also shared with him too. I said, that really scares me because uh, he mentioned that, big money coming in and that. And I said, man, you guys got to make sure that they don't lock all this down because we don't need this forever wars that we've had. We need to keep this open to where it's not locked down. These this kind of technology and stuff like that, and all this oil that's ours. This is ours. It's not a few people that
Yeah.
need to control this. This is, we need to manage this properly. And he says, "Oh yeah," he says, "I understand that." And he did share with me too. He says, "I came and sat down next to you because of your hat." I went, "All right." That was pretty cool.
There
Well,
you go. And that means that he's going to have a good conversation and he's not going to.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
an awesome story. So then
So
the next thing, because in that video with King Charles, as you heard,
yes,
you know, he talks about biodiversity, and I think that's an important subject we need to talk about too, is how they talk about putting everything back the way that it was. So like they talk about bringing the wolves, and a lot of it is they want to stop grazing because grazing is destroying the land, and there's a lot of things that this great reset, there's not a lot of room for the people and the animals that we know in their great reset, and they're taking up the land with the data centers, the solar panels, the windmills. Where does that leave us? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It's ah.
So, all right, let's cue up the next one. So that brings us to Bernard Looney. And I didn't bring up Trevor Nilsson in this one because I feel like we've already talked about him.
Yeah.
But Bernard Looney, he was the CEO of BP, British Petroleum. Um, when he, after this speech, he put British Petroleum, he committed to 40% decrease in emissions and carbon and all of those things. Well, the company, they had a really hard time, and he ended up getting pushed out of the company, and they moved the goal to the 25%. But it's part of that ESG, the carbon credit. Um,
Ah, yeah.
yeah,
That's what corporate America that want to be part of this great reset is doing. They need these carbon credits, correct?
yes, yes.
Ah, yes.
And so like a company here, so that China can run coal in China because that's where we're producing stuff. So they really need coal. They really need to be able to run the plants because they're the producers of stuff.
Hmm.
Everything, as we've had to remodel the house, everything we bought had to be made in China because there's no products made in America. So so China can have the carbon credits, but then in the United States, a plant with the same company, such as We Soda, they have to have less emissions. They have to be net zero so that China can have the carbon credits. It's an exchange system, and it's kind of wackadoodle to me, but I'm not an investor. I don't know. So we're
So
going to talk about what's that?
we getting ready to play another clip here, correct?
Yep. And so this one is of Bernard Looney, and he gave one of the opening speeches in Davos, June of 2020, and now he is the president. And no, he's not the president. He's the CEO and chairman of the board of Prometheus Hyperscale in Wyoming. So we're going to play clip number 3.
Adrian, thank you. And to Professor Schwab and His Royal Highness, we at BP, we welcome this great initiative. And I would like to offer some thoughts on the question you raise. I think some people know on February the 12th of this year, BP set out an ambition to become a net zero company by 2050 or sooner. And not just that, but actually to help the world get there. And I think a lot of people have asked Adrian if the pandemic has somehow slowed our energy in this area. And if anything, I think it's increased it. And we're as if not more committed than ever to make that happen. We all know there is a carbon budget. It is finite. It is running out. But I think a better way to explain it might be some refinery workers that I was speaking to in the United States just a few weeks ago. And they thanked me for the commitment to the energy transition. And I asked them why. And one of them said, given the choice, I choose my grandchildren every time. And that was coming from someone who has worked in hydrocarbons for his career. So that is what this is about. And we have some thoughts on what we think should happen. Obviously, it's against a backdrop where growth and employment is core, and governments will be facing higher deficits, higher debts. So we need to think about how we can do this at low or no cost to the taxpayer, and in some ways increase revenue. There are 3 policy points, Adrian, that we would just quickly touch on. The first is that any recovery stimulus should have green conditions attached to it. Kristalina mentioned this. I agree with her 100%. We're seeing some of that here in Europe, and we absolutely encourage and actually advocate for that. Secondly, energy prices should reflect real costs. His Royal Highness talked about carbon price. Kristalina talked about abolishing subsidies for fossil fuel production. We agree with all of that, and in fact, we advocate strongly for all of that. And then thirdly, supporting decarbonization in emerging economies. We want to make sure that in those countries, people are not forced to choose between a clean energy and supporting jobs, as Sharon pointed out, supporting jobs and livelihoods. They shouldn't have to make that choice. And building back better ought to be about closing the gaps that exist in inequality and social injustice rather than widening them. So, just in closing, Adrian, I would say we need our imagination here. We're seeing today, every day, the art of the possible. The possible is being redefined each and every day right now. So the next time someone tells us that tackling climate change is either too costly or too difficult, I think we need to remind them and remind ourselves of what just is happening right now. So that's where we are at. Back to you, Adrian.
All right. Well, Tina, that gets people's attention, doesn't it?
I hope so. I hope so.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Because their Prometheus isn't presenting itself as a local warehouse project. The company talks about the net zero pathways, the AI infrastructure, carbon capture, the advanced energy systems, and now one of the most visible leaders from the Great Reset launch that sits on the company's leadership team.
Wow. That's carbon capture, AI, advanced energy, all that stuff, right?
Yep. And so when we were at the meeting at the Roundhouse, people were asking questions, and another thing that came up was they were concerned about the workforce hub because back in the boom, there was a lot of crime. And these people were scared for their daughters. They were scared for their kids in a community where that workforce hub is going to be. And so that's when they introduced Target Hospitality, and they are going to be the workforce hub company that's going to bring it in. And they talked about it's going to be safe. People can't go in. But then they talked about they're going to hire 60% women and they're a second chance employer.
Oh, that does not sound good.
So these people are asking for security for the community. They're asking, we're going to be safe, right? And
Yeah.
they're telling us that now. And I have hired people. I've given second chances. I believe in second chances because, we all make stupid mistakes. We've all done things. And I get that. But it's on the ESG checklist if you are a second chance employer so that they get their ESG credits and the 60% women. Now, what does that do to our community? What does that do to Jody's Diner? What does that do to, the legal tender? They're going to pay $20 an hour to go out and cook or serve or be a housekeeper. What does that do to the rest of the community if they hire people local? Okay, so then if they don't hire people local, what does that look like? What did that really do for the community?
Yeah. Well, I came here in October of 1980. That was it right through the height of the boom. I witnessed families in tents at 40 below weather. Um, it was People just did not, they still don't believe me when I tell this story. When you go down Wasatch, like you're going down to the UPS area down in there and FedEx and that you go down there, uh, there were people in tents, families, several families that would camp out down there, and they had jobs. Their husbands would be working in building the Carter Creek and Whitney Canyon plants, and it's 40 below weather, and they're trying to keep warm in tents, make it through the night so their husbands could go to work in the morning. And the cops were having to shoo them out, once a week, and they had nowhere to go, so they would get shooed out and they go right back there and set up their tents again. And then you go up Whitney Canyon, and there was a creek right there that they actually had like a whole camp set up there with school buses and all kinds of stuff that was pretty much permanent. I mean, they had school buses go pick up kids there. And people just, and I lived through that. There were bodies dropped in the creeks, up Whitney Canyon and that. That's the kind of stuff that I remember. And these people that were at this meeting were voicing their concerns about what they lived through, what they remember. And I was
Yes.
one of those people that remembered that kind of stuff that happened here. I lived through that, and I'm just telling people that they have valid concerns, and I do remember it. Not everybody that live here now remembers that kind of stuff. So there are a few of us that still do.
And I think it's great that they have a plan. I don't know that it should go on county land, but it is my opinion that it should have gone before the county. There should have been more meetings. There should have been a meeting prior to the night before the planning and zoning meeting. The people should have had opportunity to voice their opinion. And a lot of this stuff, like the power plant over in Kimmer, they had open comment. They put the wrong date in the paper. Now, not by, it was the wrong year, so maybe that wasn't intentional or it wasn't, but nobody showed up to the open comment. There was very few people who actually showed up to open comment. And if we get nothing else out of this, the people are going to have a voice, and they need to understand that if they want to know what's going on, they're going to have to start participating. And we need to force the county open meetings. We need them videotaped. We need Zooms so that people from the valley can watch what's going on in the county commission, the planning and zoning. The people have a right to know. So that's the other thing about, and I will just tell you, the 60% women and the second chance hiring is the DEI. And I think that goes against the principles of what our culture is. The last thing you want to be in a DEI world is an adult white male looking for a job, because it's always going to go to a female. It's going to go to somebody who is not an adult white male. And I'm just saying that that is not fair. That is not justice. That is, to me, it is, you're choosing one person, one color, one race over the most qualified person for the job. And I feel like that goes against what we stand for in Wyoming.
So we're going to clear up queue up, I should say, another clip. Correct?
Yeah, so we're just going to quick little clip on, it's one of the Target Hospitality's videos, and it kind of shows what the facility looks like. So we'll play that now.
Ever tried to focus on an empty stomach? It's not easy. If you're not sleeping well, you're not working well. That goes double for anyone working a physical, high-risk job that requires constant vigilance. Everyone is all about safety on the job, but what about the rest of the day? What your crews do off the clock has a profound impact on their safety and performance on the clock, as well as on the health of your bottom line. At Target Hospitality, we understand that a happy, well-fed, well-rested workforce makes for a safer, more focused, and more productive team. Consider nutrition. In a Target Hospitality community, your workers will get plenty of healthy, satisfying choices that help keep their bodies and minds tuned up and work ready. Delicious meals prepared from scratch using fresh ingredients. Quality steaks, hand-cut French fries, handmade pizzas, and more. It's a superior dining experience offered 24 hours a day. Rest is invaluable too. Studies show that accidents go up and performance goes down when workers are fatigued, and it's preventable. When they stay with us, your workers will sleep in an environment created to promote rest on comfortable, high-quality mattresses and bedding. And because exercise is shown to improve sleep and morale, we have fitness centers in all our communities. And that's just the start. Target Hospitality provides a fully integrated solution, attending to many little details that make a big difference. At Target Hospitality, we create value for our customers through what we call the Target 12. By providing your workers with quality food, rest, wellness, community, connection, and hospitality, you will see better engagement, preparedness, productivity, performance, safety, and loyalty. Keeping your workers safe, comfortable, and well-fed is what keeps them from missing a shift, getting injured on the job, jumping to a competitor, or just packing their bags and heading home. These are real issues that cost your company money. The bottom line is, superior accommodations at a Target Hospitality community delivers a better quality of life, a workforce optimized for safety and performance, and projects completed on time and on budget. Through the years, we've built one of the largest networks in the U.S., accommodating a wide range of companies in different industries, including the largest government family residential center of its kind. With Target Hospitality, rest assured our guest experience will boost your workforce, support your business strategy, and make a healthy impact on your bottom line.
And Tina, that's where more questions started. Is that correct?
Yeah. And that's what accountability looks like, is asking the questions, reading the documents, watching the videos, and you make up your own mind. The person watching this video, we don't want to tell you what to think. We want to make sure that you have all the information to make your own decision, but we feel like you deserve to have the information.
And that is what accountability looks like. We want you to make up your own mind. We want you to ask questions. We want you to do the research. We want you to get out there and talk to people and see what their views are. And I have a little announcement here. I want to also remind people that the county commissioners meeting is at the Uintah County Courthouse on June 16th at 2 p.m. And we need to show up and let them know our views. Oh, there's another thing. Tina, I understand that you're running against Wendy Schuler. Is that correct?
Yes, I announced my candidacy for Senate District 15 because I believe in transparency and I want to make a difference.
Well, I am so glad to hear that. Oh man, that's going to be a fresh voice. Definitely. If anybody wants to know Wendy Schuler's voting record, you will absolutely be appalled. Her voting record is on display at Rhino, what is it, rhinos.com?
YORhino.com.
YORhino.com, yeah.
And Evidence-Based Wyoming is a really good one as well.
Oh, yeah, those two websites. Boy, you go on there and you can look at all of our representatives in the Senate and the House, and you can see how they vote. We've got some really good representatives in there, and we got some that we need to replace this round for sure.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we will see you next time on Accountability is Trending. We thank you very much for viewing, and make sure that you hit those like buttons, and we hope to see you subscribe. Thank you so much.